What's up, hybrids? Welcome back to another episode of the Fandom Hybrid Podcast. This is Hanako, and I am here with Anthony and Mike, and we are discussing the season 1 finale of The Last of Us. And all I have to say is, holy shit.
We made it to the end.
We made it to the end, but a lot of people didn't in this episode.
we made it to the end.
We made it to the end.
As usual, this series pulled a gamut of emotions out of me with every freaking episode. And this episode was no different. I went from being like, oh, to being like, what the fuck? To being like, oh shit. To being like, oh, wait. It's like I was so up and down this whole episode. Like, I still don't know what the fuck's going on. Like, this shit was crazy.
All right, let's get into it. We start out the episode with a cold open, and we have Ashley Johnson, who is the original voice actress for Ellie. She comes onto the screen as a pregnant woman. She is obviously running from a cordyceps, or she's running from one of the infected. And from what I understand, this is a scene that is not in the game, but it is Ellie's origin story. So we learn in this scene, one, that her mama was a badass. Because how are you in labor and you still killing affected, and you are, I don't know if it was the adrenaline or what, but you're so badass you give birth and don't even realize that you've given birth at this point. Like, there's so many things going on. You probably are in shock. You just killed the thing. As we see, she got bit. So all of this stuff is going on. Now, all of a sudden, she hears a baby. She's looking like, where the hell come from?
Baby's like, hey, what the hell? When's someone supposed to catch me? But yeah, it's like, and then she gets the knife and worried that the baby's gonna get infected, just grabs the umbilical cord, like she's cutting rope to tie something down. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, she's not to be fucked with. Well, she wasn't.
That's a tough mama.
Yeah.
Tough mama. But yeah.
She get it from her mama.
Ellie obviously did.
Facts.
But we see kind of what happened to Ellie. Like I said, Anna, her mother, is fighting off this infected. She's trying to reach for her knife that she dropped, and you could tell at the angle that the infected was that this thing was biting into her. But when she kills it, she knocks it over. Ellie is born, and she realizes, oh my God, this baby actually came while I was, I guess, fighting for my life or whatever. And then she looks over and she realizes she's been bit in the leg. So like you say, she takes the umbilical cord and she severs it, thinking, okay, it's only been a few seconds. What can happen? Well, apparently a lifelong immunity to cordyceps happens. Who knew? So after she gives birth, we see a shot of Marlene and a couple of the other fireflies coming to this house where Anna has given birth. I'm guessing it was some kind of safe house for them, because when she ran to the house and came in, she was like, hey, it's me. Is anybody here? And nobody was there. So as the fireflies go through the house and they find Anna with the baby, Marlene is the one who actually finds her. You could tell by the look on her face, this was more than just like somebody she knew in the pandemic, whatever you want to call it. This, and we find out this is actually her childhood best friend. Like, they've known each other all their lives. So Anna gives Ellie to Marlene. She was like, I want you to take her with you to Boston. I want you to find some people who would love her and protect her and all this other stuff. Marlene is like, no, I can't take her. I'm going to tell you this. I really didn't care too much for Marlene the first time we met her. I really did not like her in this episode. I was like, oh no, I don't like you. I'm glad you're dead. Because in this first scene, this is your best friend. She just had a baby and she's infected now. She is trusting you with her child, telling you to get her child to safety, keep her safe, and then kill me. She hesitantly takes the baby, and then she was like, I can't kill you, and turns around like she's about to walk off. First of all, bitch, this is your best friend. And because you don't want to have to do what you need to do, you're going to let her sit there and suffer and then turn. Like, are you?
You're like, who does that?
I was not feeling Marlene at this point. I was not. Now, once she got her resolve and she went in there and did what she had to do, okay. But the fact that you were about to let this woman, your best friend, go through the change of being infected and then just linger there to eventually turn into a click, bitch. What? Man, I didn't like her. I didn't like her then, and I didn't like her at the end of the episode, and we'll get into that. But I was like, you dirty, you. And I understand that's your best friend. You don't want to have to do it, but you would rather let her suffer because you don't want to be uncomfortable.
She could have at least told the other dude to go do it. Like, you go
But
do
no,
it. You know
she
what I
wouldn't
mean?
have done that, because if you're gonna do something like that, it should be the best friend. It should be the person that is closest
No,
to them.
I get that, but she didn't want to do it. You know what I mean? Like, it seems like her choices were only either I do it or nobody does it. No, actually, there was a third option. She could have told the other guy to do it.
Well, we see
But
from
yeah,
the end of the
it should have
episode.
been her. It should have been her. But I'm saying she had a way to not have to do it herself.
Well, we see from the
I mean,
end
if
of
the
the
other guy
episode,
wasn't
she
going to pay,
doesn't do third. She doesn't do third options very well.
No, she doesn't.
no, she doesn't at all. I mean, beyond that fact, the dude can't even follow directions. It's like she literally told him to cover her ears when she shot her, and it wasn't their ear covered. I was like, you gonna just let the baby get his eardrums blown out? Like, what the hell's wrong with you?
I think dude was probably
okay.
looking at it like I was looking at it, like, why the hell are y'all having babies with all these fucking infections around? That baby could have been lunch that afternoon had her mama not been so tough.
Since we on this Marlene thing, can you explain to me, like, why Joel is able to do what she can do, but she actually went as well? I'm just saying, like, you left Boston to go all the way to Utah, and I know she said she lost a lot of men on the way, but like, why didn't you just take Ellie?
Okay, let's
But
go
we'll
ahead.
get to that.
No, let's go ahead and get this. Let's go ahead and unpack this Marlene thing now. So
that's a good question, though.
When we see what her conversation with Joe at the end of the episode, okay, when they're having a conversation, she's telling Joe what's going on with Ellie. And she was like, yeah, so the doctor says it's this, they're about to prep her for surgery. And when, Joel is like, let me see her. And they go through that whole exchange where he's like, you don't understand. She was like, no, I do understand. I was there when she was born. I told her mother I would protect her. So I understand better than anyone. I'm sorry. I was like, okay. So, one, what did her mother specifically tell Marlene when she gave her this baby? She said, give her to people who will love her and protect her. She put this baby in an orphanage. Ellie has never known love. She has never known what it's like to be a part of the family. That's your first problem. Second, this is your best friend's child, and you wait until after you've had her hostage for 2 weeks to introduce yourself to her, and don't even tell her nothing about her mama. Maybe. We don't know what that conversation was like once she said, I'm Marlene and I'm with the Fireflies. But this is your best friend's daughter. She has grown up for 14 years not having any contact with you. You not having any contact with her. You didn't want to get emotionally involved. And she sent Joel because she figured Joel would be able to go and get it done and not get emotionally involved. Because just like Michelle said a few episodes ago, Marlene knew what they were setting this girl up for when she sent her. And she was supposed to take her originally. But remember, they got attacked and she got shot. So she was probably injured. But still.
But remember, Marlene severely underestimated that attachment
She probably didn't underestimate
situation.
it, but that was why she was avoiding that probably
Well,
because
she
she
definitely,
No,
but she wasn't counting
she
on it.
didn't think that Joel would become emotionally attached, and she
Right.
didn't understand the ramifications of him becoming emotionally
She
attached.
did
I
not.
mean, you gotta look at it like this. It's like everybody that's known Joel and seen Joel knows that Joel is emotionally detached from everything. Like he's the one that threw that girl in the fire pit without blinking and just went on about his business. He's
Mhm.
like selling drugs to the guards. He's like doing this and that and doing all kinds of illegal shit, trying to get out of the fucking QZ. And but he's like cold blooded. That's all people know about Joel is that he's cold blooded. He doesn't show emotion. And that's why they thought he was perfect for this job. They were like, well, he'll just take her and drop her off and be like, fuck you, bye.
And do
And jet.
yeah. But also too, okay, let's go back. Okay, I'm gonna get off my hate Marlene horse for a second. We gotta remember, originally he was only supposed to take Ellie across the way to the state house where the other fireflies
Right.
were. So when they were dead, he continued on the mission. Then they get to University of Colorado, and what happens? The fireflies have abandoned that post. So yeah, I think I understand for her, she's like, okay, you made it all this way. Like, why didn't you just stop or whatever the case may be? She could be thinking that as well. But remember, Joel was only supposed to take her a certain distance. It wasn't supposed to be this long. I don't even think she was expecting Ellie at this point because of everything that happened. Because I'm sure by the time she got well enough to start on her way, she saw that the state house had been blown up because Tess blew it up. So she was probably like, okay, whatever happened here, they're all probably dead. She could have easily thought that, like, oh, they didn't make it. She obviously doesn't know about Jackson because no one knew where Tommy was until they ran into, Maria and her people. So, yeah, I think she was just like, okay, he's got to take her this short way. He's all about business. He doesn't do emotional attachments. Yeah, this will be great. Him and Tess can do it. They'll be home by supper. That's probably what she had in her mind when all of this started out. And it just didn't seem to go that way. What was it that Joel said? It seems like, every time we go, like bad stuff happens. Like maybe that should have been a sign for y'all that Ellie wasn't supposed to make it this far in the first place. Maybe y'all should have just gone back to Jackson and just whatever. But yeah, I don't think Marlene could have done any of this. Not to the extent that Joe did. So I mean, this episode obviously takes place. It's got to be maybe a few weeks, maybe a month or two after the events from the last episode, because they're not wearing coats anymore. It's not cold. They're not anywhere where snow is on the ground. Joel is walking like you can't even tell he was ever injured. So he had to have healed by this point. So yeah, we could say that they've probably been on the road now close to a year.
Mm.
That's a lot of
Yeah.
bonding, And like you said, she wasn't expecting that. Then when she saw them together and Ellie is asking about him, she's worried about him, she probably starts suspecting like this is about to be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
We need to fix this. But anyway.
Well, that's the thing. It's like you can't travel with somebody for a year and not form some kind of bond. I mean, it's kind of impossible. It's like you're gonna find out about the person one way or another, whether you like it or not. It's like it's gonna happen because you're around the person all the damn time. So it's like you're gonna develop some kind of bond or some kind of symbiotic relationship where you care about the person. You don't want them to die or get hurt, and you're gonna protect them because that's your partner. It's like a year-long buddy system. It's just like you just kind of have to keep going and watch out for each other just so you can make it. So even if he didn't like get a daughter like bond with her, he would have still had some kind of bond with her. Either way.
And respect at the very least, because she did save his
Right.
life not once but twice. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Facts.
Yeah.
Mm.
But Ellie at the beginning of this episode hurt me so bad. Just her dealing with the PTSD and being so despondent and just I was like, I hope she's not going to be like this the whole episode. That would be such a depressing way to end the I mean,
Yeah.
granted, she earned it because of what she's gone through, but I was just like, I can't do sad Ellie. I just can't. My mama heart can't take it. I can't
I
take
think
it.
she was just contemplating it was the end. Like they were coming up on the end of their journey.
Yeah. Not
And
Yeah.
only
she
Plus,
that, but
she,
I
needed
she,
think I feel like she knew what was going to happen once she got there. And I think the conversations that Joel was having with her up to that point, because Joel was more open with her in this episode than he has been the entire season. You
it was
know?
like their roles reversed.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the beginning, he wasn't talking and she was running her mouth all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's running his mouth and she's not talking.
Right.
So I thought that was kind of cool.
But also,
yeah.
too, I think um, at the beginning, he was the one that was kind of, okay, this is business. And she was the one that was kind of, she was still youthful. She was still kind of hopeful. She had her purpose in her mind. And she was like, okay, this is, I'm going to save the world. And then by the end of this, when Joel realizes, because again, Joel probably already knew this too, but when Joel is starting to realize, I'm going to have to let her go, he doesn't want to do that.
Right.
And she's the one that's like, no, we have to keep going. We have to finish this. So even in that vein, the roles are reversed because I think if it wasn't a her or the world thing, she probably would have been like, yeah, let's go back. Let's go back to Tommy and Maria. Let's go see the baby because Maria's probably had that baby by now. She'll probably, yeah, let's go. But too much is at stake. And Ellie has seen enough and she has been through enough in the last year that she's like, okay, we have to do this. It has to make sense. It has to make everything else worth it. And I feel like a little bit too, she's still dealing with survivor's guilt, but on a whole different level now because she took a life very viciously, very violently. And I just don't know if at this point she can get over that. And I think she might be looking at this solution, what she's going to do as her reprieve. Like, oh, I can finally stop feeling guilty about that. Oh, I can let that go now because it's about to be done.
Yeah. I mean, that's hard for an adult to get over, much less a child, especially like the viciousness that happened with. I mean, that whole episode was just like trauma after trauma after trauma. And it's like not only did she go through that, she went through all the other stuff that she's been through. And it's just like, I mean, as a kid, she's probably like, this sucks. I'm just tired. Like I'm like, I'm not I'd rather go ahead and get, like you said, just like I'd rather go ahead and get this over with.
Yeah, because
And
she
just
hasn't known anything else, which makes the whole scene with the giraffe even more beautiful because when she starts laughing when she sees the giraffe and Joel is looking at her laugh, that's probably the first time she has laughed or smiled in months or in weeks at the very least since they left David's place. And in that moment, I think that's when he realized, I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm not going to be able to walk her in there and be like, okay, well, you go do what you got to do. But I think there was a small part of him that was also naive enough to hope that all it would be some test tubes and some blood drawn, and that would be it.
Yeah.
I think he really was.
But you know what
that.
kind of got me on my second watch? I was like, because as Marlene was explaining the process and what they're going to do, it's like they're going to get the cordyceps that fooled the other cordyceps and like sample them and try to replicate them. He was like, cordyceps they live in the brain. It's like he knew they lived in the brain. It's like, did he not have a clue that they were going to have to open her brain like all this time?
Well,
If
see,
he knew that,
I think the thing is they didn't know up until they got there. And even when they got there, Marlene said the doctor thinks that the cordyceps has been growing with her since she was a child. I don't think Joel thought about the possibility that there was actual cordyceps living within her brain. Because if you think about the way cordyceps acts and everyone else, it would have taken over by now. So how would she still be alive 14 years later? So he's probably, and again, they're thinking that she's immune somehow because of whatever happened with the bite. They think it's in her blood.
And yeah, and most people, like, if you have like a rudimentary understanding of how vaccines work, then you would just think, well, maybe she's got antibodies floating around and all they need to do is extract the antibodies.
Mm-hmm.
You're not thinking, a higher level where, oh, the cordyceps is actually in her brain producing messenger chemicals. So they need to see, dissect that and replicate it. No, you're not thinking that high level. You're thinking, oh, it's just like if you get chicken pox when you're a kid, you got the antibodies in your body, and all you got to do is pull the antibodies out.
Mm-hmm.
No, he's not thinking or wasn't thinking about it might actually be an organism in her brain.
Like she actually is infected.
Yes.
But I find that interesting too, because when she was scanned, the infection showed up there. But when the dog sniffed her, the dog couldn't detect it. So I wonder, is it not just like her body that it's fooling, but I don't know. I'm not the science person.
I'm gonna think that maybe the dog is looking at like the whole picture of the person. Like maybe there's some tells or some things, some chemical changes in your body that's a little different than the person who's actually having, the symptoms of the infection.
Right.
Like Ellie may be infected, but she doesn't have the symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
The dog can detect the symptoms, not necessarily the infection.
Right. Okay.
You understand?
Because her cordyceps are different than the bad cordyceps. She actually has quote unquote good cordyceps, for lack of a better word. They're ones that actually fight off the bad ones, if I'm understanding that right. What she was saying is like
basically
I
it's
think
not
it was signaling it was
tricking
basically
it,
telling
right?
the other cordyceps that she was already infected.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Just tricking them. Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't spread.
Yeah.
And they're different cordyceps and they're actually different cordyceps. So it's like the dog was looking for a certain kind, and that explains why the dog was growling when he was approaching her, because he probably sensed those cordyceps, but he was like, but that's not the ones I'm supposed to be looking for.
No, I
So it's
think
like, well, she must be okay.
I think she has the ones that the dog was looking for, but if it's been growing with her since birth, it's as much a part of her as she is of it. So I don't think there's any difference. It's just kind of like it's her. So while it may be detectable, like let's say if the doctor looked at her brain under a microscope, or maybe if they did an X-ray, I know they probably didn't have access to X-rays in this hospital, but if they were to look, they probably would have been able to see it. But without that, they can only guess. And I think that's the part that bothered me the most, was when Marlene told him, our doctor thinks that the cordyceps has been within Ellie ever since she was born, or it has grown with her since birth. And it's sending out these, these chemical messages. You're basing it on an assumption.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, and when we do our episode with the game playing people, I think there's a cut scene that they actually did a CAT scan of her brain. Like the doctor knows exactly where it is in her brain.
Okay. But yeah, because I didn't think they would be able to do that, because even when Joel is approaching the surgery room and the doctors are prepping her, the doctor says, do we have enough power to proceed? So I wouldn't think that
Yeah,
they
they
would.
must have they could have used it all for the MRI or the
Mm,
CAT scan.
I guess, but I don't know. I just that one little word, think, that bothered me because I was like, yeah, because I'm
Well,
like,
it's all theory. It's all theory anyway. Because they don't really know if they would be able to work anyway. Like they don't even know if they would be able to duplicate. He thinks
Right.
he can duplicate it,
mhm.
the messenger chemicals. He's still basing everything on a theory that it might work.
It's
But
just like, I
that's
mean,
all
yeah,
they
because
got.
because there are only so many Ellies in the world. It's not like he has an endless supply of Ellies to experiment on. It's just like, there's only one. So he's like he has to basically flip a coin and hope and pray that he's right. He doesn't have a choice.
I guess, and
It's either gonna work or it's not. And
I
this is the
guess
Well,
only
you
that's
should
shot
also
they
why I
got.
kind of understand why Joel went John Wick, because
Joel Wick on his ass.
you gonna kill her. Basically, you're killing her, and you're admitting that this is what y'all are doing on a hunch. Like, and I understand if they had, more modern medicine at the time, and everything was working, they probably could have come up with a better treatment plan or a better extraction plan or whatever the case may be. I understand that. It was just the way that she said it, and when Joel comes to the realization and she's like, I'm sorry, I have to. For her later on, when he's getting ready to leave with Ellie, and she says, you don't have the right to make that choice for her. And he says, you don't either. I'm like, you sat there and admitted when you told Joel that y'all were taking her to surgery. We didn't tell her anything. She has no fear. So you're basically being a hypocrite because you believe that you're doing what's right, but you didn't think that it was important enough to tell the person who was going to be directly affected, hey, this is what we're going to do. I mean, granted, they could have pretended to give her a choice. We already know she wasn't going to have a choice, but you could have at least given her that courtesy.
Yeah,
Your
they
best
could have.
friend's daughter, who you've neglected and ignored pretty much all of her life until you realized she could be a solution to your problem. You could have at least given her that courtesy.
Well,
And that's why
there's
I
a
was
thing
like, I feel Joel.
called informed consent where they needed to they in okay what they should have done versus what they could do is two different things, and like what they were able to do versus what they would have done with modern medicine. Like normally when you do brain surgery, you don't really put the person under because you want to make sure you don't fuck anything up.
Mhm.
Then they would have been able to go in, locate it, take a sample, then study the sample and figure out what they need or how much they need or what they need to do.
Mhm.
Well, here, they obviously don't have the resource to take a sample. So the best thing they can do is just go ahead, cut her open and take it out and see what it's doing and see what's going on. Because if it's just a matter of the messenger chemicals, then they could have just taken her blood and saw what kind of chemicals were in her blood.
See, that's what I was thinking too.
you know, or they could have, tracked down a runner or something, or even gotten an infected and studied their blood and see what the differences are. But these are things that you can do with modern medicine, but not necessarily what they got. What they got is a bone saw and a scalpel, and that's all he's got. He didn't have anything else.
Yeah, they couldn't even I Am Legend it. I mean, even I Am Legend had all kinds of other shit. And it's like this they literally have like a hand crank generator and rusty scalpels, basically, in comparison. It's just like, I mean, what are y'all gonna do? It's like when you take it out, it's like it just seems really sloppy and slipshod the way they put it together. It seems like they were ready, but they weren't prepared, if
And
that
I
makes
Well, I
wonder,
sense.
mean,
I wonder what kind of doctor he was because I promise you, he's probably not a neurosurgeon.
I was
No.
I
going to
mean,
say they
he might even be a
probably,
chemist.
So
yeah, if you
OBGYN,
think
we have no
about the
idea what you're
way
doing, sir.
if you think about the way the University of Colorado was left, they probably had to get out of there in a hurry. So I'm just going to assume that for something this large of an undertaking, they probably started out with more doctors and more nurses and more scientists, and maybe just lost them along the way. Because at this point, there was only 4 medical personnel that we saw. The rest of them were soldiers, were fireflies. So that's probably what happened. And I get it. If I put on my logical brain, what they did made sense. Because like Marlene says, she didn't have any fear. We didn't tell her what was going on. Ellie didn't even know that she had been drugged or, was in surgery when she woke up. So she said the last thing she remembered was talking to the fireflies. That would have been how she died. That would have been the last thing she remembered. So I can understand maybe the decision to not tell someone, because you don't want to give them that trauma before they go. You don't want to make them scared. You don't want to put them in a situation where it's just a bad way to go, but the human in me, give me the option. Even if it isn't an option, you can at least make me pretend to me that it is. Give me that courtesy, give me that respect. I just traveled all the way across the country, mostly on fucking foot. The least you can do is give me the courtesy to say, okay, hey, so this is what I didn't tell you in Boston. This is probably what's going to happen. This is what they think is going on. And in order to find this out, you may have to sacrifice your life, but you sacrificing your life may save the world. You know what I'm saying? Not too many people, especially since Ellie thought that's what she was going to do anyway. She might not have been opposed to that.
But we have the benefit of the previous conversation she had with Joel, where he basically is like, you know what, we don't have to do this. Let's just go back to Jackson, to Tommy, whatever. And she's like, if we've come this far, everything I've done, we need to see this to the end. Mm-hmm. So she probably would have said, yes, let's go ahead and do it. So we do have a little bit of insight into where her thinking may have been about it. But I agree with you. They didn't even give her that choice. They took that agency away from her.
Yeah.
Even if we believe she would have gone along with it, they didn't give her that choice.
And then for you to turn around and call Joel out for taking away her choice by saving her. What you did wasn't any better. At least he saved her life. He wasn't serving her up on the platter. He wasn't trying to kill her.
And I'm interested to know what Marlene's thinking. Well, I know the answer to this question, but I'm just going to pretend I don't. What Marlene's thinking was when she decided to tell Joel. Like, they didn't have to tell him anything. Like, she could have been like, we already did it. The surgery's done. She'll be fine. Go about your way. You know what I mean? Like, figure something out.
I think she realized at that point there was no going about your way for Joel.
Well, either way, they could have handcuffed him. They could have locked him up. They could have sedated him. They could have done a whole bunch of things. But she decided to tell him, oh, she's about to go into surgery. And then you give him just enough. It's like, I don't want to say it's like the villain speech, but she tells him the plan.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? She tells him the plan and gives him a chance to think, I don't like this shit.
Right.
I'm finna go get Ellie and we getting out of here.
Right. Because when she was like, I had no choice, and he was like, I do. Her face changed, like, oh shit, we finna have a problem.
Yeah. So why did you even go into this with Joel to tell him what the fuck was going on? Like, why would you even do that?
He would have figured it out anyway. She knew that Joel was going to either, if she didn't tell Joel what was going on, he was going to run all through that hospital until he found Ellie. So it's best that she actually had him in a situation where she had backup to be able to at least reasonably control him to keep him from running roughshod immediately, than to have him just busting through and kicking open doors and kicking open doors, waving 4-4s like he's Biggie Smalls. Like it's just he's actually just. It's better to tell him and have people and have a reasonable amount of control over him than to just let him run roughshod.
Okay, and also we're gonna
And how did
escort
that
him
work out for
out
them?
and dump
They don't have that much.
him out on the street
They have
and
they have
just with
limited
his
set of
back.
options.
You
I actually
really
agree with
think that he's gonna
why did they
stay?
even no. I agree with Anthony. Why did they even tell him that in the first place? They were like they should have been like, have a seat. She's in surgery. We'll let you know when she's out. I mean, it's
That's
like
it.
that.
That's all you got to do.
Exactly. I agree. I
She's in
wholeheartedly
surgery,
agree.
and at
But
some
I
point you could have
think,
taken them up there and be like, there she is. You know,
And
she's
then
about to go
they
into some surgery.
all they had to do was say something happened in surgery and she didn't make it.
but
Right.
I
Sorry.
think she realized the mistake once she mentioned surgery because again, Joe in his mind has been thinking this whole time, oh, they're just going to do something with your blood. They might
Yeah.
take your blood, test it out. Ellie probably thought the same thing. So when she says, she's being prepped for surgery, I mean, she said it kind of like she's being prepped for surgery. And when he was like, surgery for what? For what? And she never answered him. I think that's when she realized, oh, this might be a little bit deeper than I thought. Like it's not just now about him protecting her. This man really cares for this girl. Oh shit, I just fucked up. Because I
Yeah,
think
she's not good at thinking.
she
Why
realized
even
once
tell
Joe
her?
was like, surgery for what? Excuse me, what? Oh, no. This is not what
Because this is the situation you put yourself in. Because either one of your choices is bad.
Mm-hmm.
If you say, "Oh, they're just running tests, they're just checking her blood," okay, well, I want to see her. If you don't tell him no, that's
Right.
not gonna work. You tell
She
her,
doesn't.
you tell him she's in surgery. He's gonna be like, "Oh, what? Wait, what? You prepping her for surgery? That's not gonna work either, apparently." So door A and door B are shitty choices. She had a third option, which we know she's not very good at third options, which was just not to say shit and
Mm-hmm.
leave him handcuffed, tied up, locked up somewhere
Mm-hmm.
until the whole shit was done with. Or
Mm-hmm.
put a bullet in his head and call it a day.
Right.
Because
I mean,
none of those people would have blinked or batted an eye if she had put a bullet in his head.
Right.
yeah, because they're working for the greater good. And it's like she's terrible at thinking on her feet. I mean, as soon as she said surgery, he said, "What surgery?" He said, "Oh, they're just going to do a biopsy." They could have just said he's doing a biopsy, just going to do something and get a sample of muscle tissue or something. It's like
But
she was very bad at thinking on her feet.
I don't know if I would say it's bad. She's bad at thinking on her feet. I just think that Marlene is not the type to bullshit. She's gonna give it to you straight
Yeah,
for the most part.
yeah.
She didn't with Ellie, but she's gonna give it to you straight. Like this is Joel is someone that she knows that she has worked with before or is familiar with his work. So she probably knew a bullshit answer wasn't gonna work for him. I just don't think she understood how deep the connection was until he woke up and started asking questions because it's one thing for Ellie to be worried, oh, did you guys hurt him? Is he okay? She's a child. This is a man who has protected her all the way across country. So that would be understandable. In Marlene's mind, Joe is unattached. Joe is unemotional. He's not going to be, he might be thinking, oh, I need to protect this girl. Oh, what did y'all do with her? Oh, this is what we're doing. This is what we have to do, blah, blah, blah. And this is how we save people. In her mind, she's thinking, oh, okay, Joel understands the importance of saving the entire fucking world. So this shouldn't be a problem. But when he
Okay.
started getting up and she started, and he started being like, hold up, what are we doing? Where is she? You take me to her now. I think that's when Marlene realized she done fucked up.
I just want to echo what Mike said just a few minutes ago. There is no possible way that this man is going to take this child all the way across country on foot and not feel something for her.
I understand
You
that, but
know,
what I'm
because
saying again,
if he was the person that she thought he was, he would have cut his losses a long time ago. Like he would have been like, no. Also, she needed to take into consideration this man basically will do anything to get to his brother. Like you think that he's this heartless, cold dude, But you know what? The people that he cares about, Tess, his brother, and now Ellie, he will literally do anything for. And that's a failure in Marlene being able to read people to understand that that's how this man operates.
No. And I understand that. But what I'm saying is we have to think about it from her point of view. She probably didn't even realize that they were even still alive until they showed up there. In Marlene's mind, they probably died all the way back at the state house. So
right, but as soon as she saw them together, though, she should be like, "Oh, this motherfucker done dragged her all the way through hell, and she didn't have a scratch on her." Right?
Because remember when she asked him
even
about it, when she asked him, she said, "How did you do that? I even had people protecting me." And he was like, "It was all her. She was determined to get here." So if you're thinking about it like that, he was probably like, "Okay, you know what? I'll stay and protect her. She's going to go ahead and go." He knows how important she is. And if she were to just be like, "Oh, okay, well, you don't want to go, I'm going to go by myself." He's not the type of person that's just going to let her go, especially if he's considering getting paid for it at the end. She doesn't know that he found his brother. You know what I'm saying? So he could still be in like, "Okay, well, I didn't find my brother, but you promised me food, you promised me vehicles, weapons, and gas for completing this, so I'm going to see it through." In her mind, she could be thinking practically in that sense that, "Oh, okay, well, he stuck this out to get what I promised him." I mean, what did she say? "I never wanted to be in debt," or "You are the last person I ever wanted to be in debt to." And again, that's what she's saying. "Oh, he did this so he could get what I promised him he would get." But I think because she's so detached from Ellie, like we don't know what her backstory is. Like we don't know if she had children, if she had a family, or any of this before this stuff started. But the fact that she stayed away from Ellie's whole entire life, and again, this is your best friend's child. Had the world not gone to shit, you would have been this child's godmother. You would have been this child's auntie. You would have been practically a second mother to this child, but you completely stayed away from her. I think she probably thought in her mind, because Joel is of a similar constitution, she was like, "Oh, I can see him with her, and all he's going to be about is the business." It's possible that's the way she looked at it. And like I said, she probably realized too late that she underestimated him and his connection to Ellie and what she thought about him. She's like, "Oh, okay, I just fucked up." But at this point, it's too late.
Yeah, I think that also it is advertently their fault, because when they first saw him, instead of doing like the Jackson people did, him hold him at gunpoint and be like, "Hold the fuck up, what are you doing?" What did they do? They threw a fucking flashbang at him and knocked Joel in the head without actually seeing what the fuck was going on. They literally knocked heads first and asked questions later. If they would have just put guns on him and been like, "Whoa, what the fuck y'all doing here?" And he would have been like, "Whoa, I'm bringing her to y'all." It's like and they would have been. Then they could have actually
here. Like after they threw the flashbang and Joel and Ellie got knocked to the down, did y'all hear a female voice say Ellie? Because that's why I was thinking that's why they didn't kill Joel, because I think Marlene may have recognized Ellie, but I don't know. I thought that's what I heard the second time I watched it.
No, she said the patrol didn't know who they were, so I'm assuming she wasn't there. But
yeah, but it's like
I want to say again, I want to echo Mike, because this is something Michelle says all the time. All they had to do was just have a conversation. Like, why everyone want to jump to violence from the jump?
Right.
Why we want to jump to violence?
They didn't really have to have a conversation. All they had to do was see that. I mean, she could have been able to tell. She would have had time to come up with a different story if she would have gone out there and seen the connection that Joel and Ellie had, instead of him just being like, "Here, take her." He would have been protecting her, and she would have seen like, "Wait, something else is going on here. Why are they so close?"
They don't care about that. He's not going to. Even in the hospital room, when he was like, "You take me to her now," what did the dude with the gun do? He hit him. when she told them to take him out to the street, Joel is walking. They keep pushing him. Why the fuck you gotta be touching me, bro? I'm going the direction you telling me to go. Just because I don't want to get there, I don't want to run and get there. Give me some time to process the shit y'all just told me 2 minutes ago. So yeah,
but
they weren't.
We know most people that make it this far in the apocalypse, or a lot of them are just bullies and takers anyway.
Yeah,
that's okay. That motherfuckers got what's coming to them.
Yeah, you don't always have to choose violence from the jump. You really don't.
No.
See, this is why Firefly stuff keeps getting fucked up, because they're rebels without a pause or cause.
No.
Or clean draws
No, they probably were being violent with him because Joel's reputation probably preceded him. And Marlene was probably
at the time they didn't know who he was. It was just the old man and a little girl.
No, I'm talking about once they were taking him out of the hospital room. And once, because obviously once they realize who Ellie is, they realize who Joel is, because I'm pretty sure Marlene would have told them, okay, she's with Joel. I gave him this task and blah, blah, whatever the case may be. But they knew once they got him in there who he was. And that's exactly why she was like, give him this. Because she's not about to give that and be like, oh, this belonged to Ellie's mother, or this belonged to... No. Here, give him this. Wait until you get to the highway and then give him this. But I don't know. Something tells me that he wouldn't have... Once they got to the highway, they probably would have killed him.
If they had a brain, if they had more than one brain cell between all of them, one of them would have put a bullet in his head and be like, oops, my bad, Marlene. What's she going to do?
First off, they were holding him. They were holding him at rifle point. That's way too much room to be giving Joel. It's like, because he had plenty of room to spin around, take that gun, and shoot the other guy. I'm like, where's your sidearm, sir? Like, where can you get closer where you can crowd him where he can't turn around easily and grab things? Because he could do a Wonder Woman spin in the amount of space that he had. Even though the guy pushed him, he had like that much room to spin around and grab a dude's gun and shoot him. I'm like,
your first mistake was you put your hands on him, because
True.
then you let him know that, I can get this motherfucker to put his hands on me.
Mm-hmm.
If he does that, then he has his mind.
Just turn. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. And we on the stairwell. We in single file. I got one body between me and the other guy. That's all he needed. Stupid little mistakes like that. No wonder she lost half her men crossing country. They probably made
amateurs.
Stupid decisions. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Freaking amateurs.
Mm-hmm. And even after that, the way that Joel, when Joel takes the gun and they start playing the music and you see him walking slowly, I was like, oh, it's going to be some shit. How many people did Joel take out? I don't even know. It was more than 20 by himself. I was like, oh, this is the Joel that everybody was weary of in episode 1. This was the Joel you don't fuck with.
We talked about that.
This is the Joel that Tess was like, look, I can tell my guy that this was just a mistake, that you didn't do nothing. Oh, that's right. That's the Joel that dude was worried about.
Right. Tess was worried about him too. We'll just pretend like this never happened.
Right. Because she was like, I know how he can be. And
Baba Yaga.
He was
the
like,
man of singular purpose.
I just don't want him to be. I just want to make sure we're straight. She's like, we're good. We're good. No, nobody wants to see that. But we talked about it. We always said we would hate to see somebody get between him and the person he loved and be like, you can't see them. No, that's not going to happen.
Because he was so freaking methodical. Like, oh, okay, I'm gonna shoot you in your leg first and disable you, and then okay, now I'm gonna shoot you in the head. That he double tapped. He was like, I'm not playing no games with y'all. I'm not giving y'all a chance to get up. I'm not giving y'all a chance to call for help. No. Boom, boom. If he could catch him on the first one, he did it on the first one. If he couldn't, he gonna disable you, get you to a point where you can't be shooting at him, and then he's gonna take care of you. Oh, I ran out of bullets. Oh, let me just grab this knife and let me go on ahead and finish you that way. He was so methodical with it. And then when he gets up to the 6th floor where Ellie is, and he walks into the surgery and he sees her laying on the table, and they've just given her the anesthesia to knock her out, and they're getting ready to start the surgery. And he was like, unhook her. And the doctor turned around when they were like, how did you get in here? He was like, unhook her. That doctor gonna grab the gun, grab a scalpel.
Really?
This man got a gun on you talking about unhook her. Did you not hear all the commotion coming from downstairs? I mean, I know y'all are on different floors, but that was a lot of gunfire for y'all to be like, I didn't hear shit. This man got a gun in your face. You gonna pick up a scalpel. I'm not gonna let you take her. Joe was like, boom. I was like, he didn't even, he was like, I don't give a fuck if you're a doctor.
He literally brought a knife to a gunfight. Literally.
Literally.
Like, bruh.
I was like, dude. And for even this man could be the last real doctor in the world. You are dealing with a man who is so emotionally gone right now. And you,
my thing is like, I know he had to make a split decision. He could have went ahead and unhooked her, let him take her, we'll just live to fight another day. But no, you had to pick up the rusty scalpel. You just had to.
mm-hmm.
Dumbass.
And now you land on the floor with your brains on the floor. They made sure to show us that. They made sure to show us that. The brain surgeon with his brains on the floor. How poetic.
Look at you now. You can't even pick your brains up. You're just laying there. Brains everywhere. Look at you.
Look at you.
And then Marlene confronts him in the garage. And I was like, chick, do you not realize that all your people are dead upstairs? If he did that by himself, I guess she underestimated the fact that he had an unconscious girl in his arms. She was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna appeal to him. He cares about her. Let me try to talk him down. This nigga just killed how many people upstairs?
Everybody but the
everybody. Not everybody.
Everybody.
He is not here for your pleading. He is not here for whatever common sense you think you're making. And she was making some sense, but again, you really think he's stupid enough to think that you're just gonna let this go? No. She's gonna reach out to other Fireflies, and no matter where he and Ellie went, she was gonna have a network of people looking for him. They would never be safe. They would never get rest. And then by the time they do catch up to Ellie and Joel, they're just gonna take Ellie and kill Joel just to be on the safe side.
Well, that doesn't mean that's still not gonna happen, because all the Fireflies know what's going on. They're gonna know what happened when they get there, and they're gonna go looking for Joel and Ellie again.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If she was talking about we can still figure this out even after what you've done. If he would have taken Ellie, that's what I'm saying. That's what she would have done. She would have put it out to the networks.
No, I'm saying even now, they're still gonna come looking for him.
Yeah,
they're still gonna come look. The Firefly Network all over the country knows what was supposed to be happening here. Yeah. They know that they have someone that they're gonna try to get a cure.
Well, not necessarily.
They're gonna get there. Okay, not necessarily, but they're gonna start trying to figure out how come we ain't heard from Marlene.
Okay, they will probably figure out. But here's the thing: they don't necessarily know that Joel was there, because again, Marlene didn't know Joel and Ellie were alive until they showed up at that hospital.
True, but trust me, that doctor has notes. he's got notes. He's got things written down. He's got plans. Trust me, that somebody will know. They'll know what's going on. That's how we got to have a season 2.
Yeah, but see, if season 2 follows the game, what I found out yesterday, Game 2 picks up 5 years later.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, so Ellie will be 19. That's a lot of time to go by for I don't know, because I don't know what I don't know what the starting point is for game 2, so I don't know,
I
but
do, but I'm not gonna tell you.
no, don't tell me. I don't want to know.
I don't know.
I
I'm
did.
kind of worried.
I
I'm
know.
kind of worried about Joel and Ellie's relationship. I mean, Joel is. I mean, at the end, Joel was obsessive. Like Joel was just like single-minded, obsessive about protecting her. And I don't blame him. It just
I
seemed like he was. He went. Oh, he looked like he was a man. Like he was pretty much had one foot over the edge. Like he was just like, I'm protecting her. I don't care who gets in my way.
I
You
don't
remember
think it was about
how the series?
I don't think
Remember
it was
how
about
the
protecting her. I think it was at that point he had admitted to her that she was the reason he was able to heal from Sarah's death. I think it was more so at this point about he couldn't lose another child. Because when Marlene tells him, she was like, okay, so what do you think Ellie would choose to do? And he didn't answer. She said, because she would choose to do this. She would choose to do what's right. He knows that she would have chosen that, but he
he did it for
couldn't.
very selfish
He did
reasons.
it for very selfish reasons. He
Very
couldn't
selfish.
face having to lose her again, and I think that's why he was being so much more open with her the closer and closer they got to the hospital, because he needed to let her know how important she became to him. And I think in that same sense, Ellie, I feel like Ellie is not surprised by what happened, even though, he tells her, Raiders came and they attacked the hospital and that's how everybody got hurt, this, that, and the other. Ellie knows it's not true because of those conversations they were having. She knows that he was not going to be able to let her go. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it took 20 years before he would even talk about Sarah and talk about Sarah in a sense where it's not just, oh, my daughter died. He actually shared with Ellie something special about them, the hiking trip. And I think you guys would have liked each other. And this, Joe has never talked about Sarah like that to anyone. So I
Yeah,
think in her
and
mind,
then
she realized, okay, he did this because he didn't want to lose something, but in him fighting for what he didn't want to lose, he doesn't realize now, or I don't think he realizes the depth of what he has taken from Ellie. And that's going to come back and bite him in the ass.
yeah, I mean, plus he told her that the that the that the wound that he has on his forehead was from him trying to kill himself, and explained and told him that after Sarah died, there was nothing left. Like he was like he was at peace with. He was like, I'm just done. And then he said something jerked his hand. He didn't know what it was, and then so I I kind of think at some level, I mean, of course, we all know that Ellie's not stupid. Ellie's not dumb. Like she probably, like you said, she probably does know that Joel took her and killed all those people, because you kind of see it in her eyes when she tells him to swear to her that the bullshit story he told her was true.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I could swear. But then you can see like she's like, I don't want him to have to go through that again. You go
I
through,
don't think
but
that was it. I don't think that was it. I think when she asks him, swear to me that what you said about the fireflies was true, she was checking to see how far he was going to go with this. Like, is he going to sit here and lie to me? I'm asking him this question because I already know the truth. Joel knows she's asking this question because she already knows the truth. Because when he turns back and she was like, fuck, I got to say something. The look of panic, sheer panic on his face, he thought she was going to actually ask him direct, did you do such and such? But instead, she gives him a way out. Swear to me that what you said about the fireflies is true. And he did not even blink when he looked at her and then said, I swear. And I think in her mind, she's processing this. She's trying to believe that what he says is true, but at the same time, she's looking like, I know it's not true, but he just lied to me. And I think that was one of the things between them as far as the trust. They told each other the truth, whether it was good, whether it was bad. And for him to flat out lie to her like this, I think that was her processing like, okay, this is what he's going to tell me. And I mean, really, at this point, what else is she going to do? She has nowhere else to go. She has no one else to turn to. The only other person she knew is dead. So, I don't think that was I don't want him to go through this. I think that was really I need to see how far he's going to take this. Like, is he really going to sit here and tell me the truth, or is he going to lie to me? And unfortunately, he lies to her. And I think that's going to be a defining moment for their relationship going forward, because now she can't trust him. And that was such a big thing between the both of them for this season. Do you trust me? I trust you. She doesn't have that trust anymore. And I think that was just her kind of processing that, okay, so this is what this is now. You know, he chose his happiness, or he chose what was good for him over what was good for everybody, or what was, what I would have wanted. He made his needs more important than hers. And it had always been the other way around. She was important. She was the mission. She was the hope for everyone. That was the mission. Get her there, get her safely so they can make a cure. And then at the 11th hour, when you realize what kind of sacrifice that's going to make, he can't do it. And in that sense, he has now made it all about him.
He's so wrong. He really fucked up.
He did.
He really did.
And I think
but I mean,
I think it would have been better if he'd have told her the truth, because at least from that point she can be mad, she can say what she needs to say, they can have their moment, and then they can start moving forward. But now you like I said, you just told her this huge lie, and that is going to define your relationship moving forward from this point on. So yeah. And then of course, once they go back to Jackson, I don't know how much Tommy has told Maria, but when he comes back and Ellie is with him, they're going to know something, because here's the other thing. I started thinking about the conversation Joel was having with Tommy when he was trying to get Tommy to take Ellie. And I know part of the reason that he told him, he was like, I will get her killed. I think he meant that I can't say it. Figuratively and literally. Because yes, he felt like he couldn't do the things he used to do, and in that sense would kill her. But also, if he got her to where she needed to go, technically speaking, he would be killing her too. Because again, Joel ain't stupid. He may have hoped that it was only going to be a blood test, but yeah, there's a good chance that whatever it is that she had, they were going to need to keep her. They were probably going to keep her like some kind of lab rat or whatever. And in a sense, that will be him killing her as well. I feel like he might have tried to get Tommy to do it, because Tommy had no emotional connection to Ellie at that point. And if Colorado was only a 5 days journey away, Tommy's not going to get attached to her in 5 days. It took Joel months. So he probably felt like Tommy will take her, pass her over without hesitation. He won't, there won't be a second guess. There won't be a doubt. There won't be a moment of weakness. And I really feel like that's one of the reasons why he wanted Tommy to do it, because he knew Tommy would succeed where he would not.
I can see that. Yeah. I don't know. I think it really pained me to see like the look of distrust in her eyes towards Joel after everything they've been through. Like that hurts. Like, I mean, she saved his life so many times. She nursed him back to health. Like she bargained with creepy pastors to get penicillin for his ass. And it's like, but I mean, at the same time, it's like I kind of understand why Joel didn't tell her. It's like, why would you? I mean, to be honest, sure, but it's just like he was he had gone through so much. He had so much going through his mind. He well, probably wasn't even really like he was, but while he was driving, he was probably like, the fuck am I gonna tell her? What the fuck am I gonna tell her? And it's like it's probably still going through his mind while he was driving. He had no idea what the fuck he was gonna say.
But also I feel like if he had been honest with Ellie, she might have been pissed. She might have been mad. No, she would have been pissed. She would have been whatever level is above pissed because you just took away a potential cure for everybody. That's a level of what the fuck that I can't even look at. But I think maybe she also would have understood that just like she was not willing to leave him behind when he was dying, he was not going to do that to her. And I think she would understand that. But I also feel like she probably would have been like, you should have given me a choice, or you knew what I wanted to do. I told you there is no halfway with this. We do what we came to do. She made her feelings on it very clear.
So in retrospect, he's just as bad as Marlene. Like he took away her choice as well.
Yeah, and that's why I said when she said that to him, she was very much telling the truth, but she was being a hypocrite too, because she was like, oh, but you took her choice away. You know, you don't have the right to do that either. And I was like, but you did it because you put her under and put her on the surgery table and didn't even tell her that's what was going to happen. So both of them were majorly wrong. But it's just that I feel like Joel, of course, Joel's decision has larger consequences because now there is no finding a cure. We don't know if there are any other doctors that were working on this or that even know about Ellie. We don't know. So there's that aspect. Plus the aspect that Joel is the person that Ellie loves and the person that Ellie trusted. Marlene was just the person who told her something she didn't know about herself. But other than that, she didn't have any connection to Marlene. So she might have been sad about the fact that Marlene was dead, but unless Marlene went into that whole backstory of, ooh, I knew your mother and da 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 da, there's no connection. And why would she tell Ellie that at that point? Because then that's a whole other slew of questions. Oh, you knew my mother? Why is this the first time I'm seeing you? Have you not cared about what happened to me? Have you not, if you're in the Fireflies and you see what's going on in Fedra, did you realize I was in Fedra school? Did you realize I was getting bullied? Did you realize that I had no parents to love and nurture me? I mean, that would have opened up a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, how anti-Fedra are you that you just gave me to them?
Right. So I don't know. Like I said, both of them made very bad decisions. They made them for good reasons. I will say that. Marlene had an absolute good reason for why she was doing it. And I feel like I said, if you were trying to spare Ellie the panic, the fear, just kind of let her go into this, not realizing what the situation was. Again, Ellie's last memory when she woke up, she was like, I was talking to the Fireflies. That would have been the last thing she remembered. So I can understand if that's what you wanted to do, then yeah, I understand why you did. But just from what I've seen from Marlene, I don't think she would have thought that far. She wouldn't have been like, oh, okay, let's just let her drift off at peace, blah, blah, blah. Maybe a little bit, but not to the point where I feel like she cared about it. You know, she was detached and probably stayed detached on purpose, not even knowing the bigger, you know, the bigger picture of Ellie being infected. Because again, Anna told her when she came in the room and she saw the baby, she was like, I cut the cord before I got bit. Before I got bit. Like, because other than that, Marlene definitely wouldn't have taken the baby because you don't know what would happen.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
think I think it's all circumstance because had the Fireflies not gone looking for Riley, they probably wouldn't have found um Ellie having been bitten.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
right.
mean? Because like you said, as far as Marlene had done her duty. She didn't really find a family for her, but she did put her in the place,
Where she
you
would be
know,
protected.
where she will be protected.
Mm-hmm.
And oh wait, what? You've been bitten? And oh, then she started putting two and two together. There's something here. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, she never took the time out to get attached to her. But then it became something that could potentially save everybody.
So
You
then she
know,
was probably glad at that point that she wasn't attached because then she didn't have to make the decision that Joel did.
right? Because if she was attached, she would have been the one hauling Ellie across country
Or she
with
would have
their
been trying to
team,
hide, or she would have been trying to
or
hide
try to
Ellie
hide.
because
Yeah.
she probably knew too
She
that
she knew what eventually she knew she was gonna have to hand her over to somebody,
that
and they're
that,
gonna
that
have
was
to
a one
figure
way
out.
trip for her.
Yeah, they're
Mm-hmm.
gonna have to figure out however it was doing what it was doing. I had a thought, and I don't know. I'm just this is not a theory.
Thought or
I,
theory?
I was
What?
going to
I'm
say he
sorry. What?
didn't say theory, he
Not a
said a
theory.
thought.
I'm sorry. What now?
I said a thought. I'm speculating. I wonder if the reason why the test said that she was positive for cordyceps was because the bite that she had, maybe it was still in her system.
Oh
Like
yeah,
maybe it was still in her system and it wasn't like the one that was testing for was still in her system fighting. You know what I
could
mean?
yeah, could
And so by
be
the time we got to where she ran into the dog, she didn't have that cordyceps in her anymore.
right. You might be right, and then
Yeah.
also her bite had completely healed by that point.
Yeah.
So not even
Yeah.
just from the bite, but from when she tried to heal Sam.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but thinking about that too, when she's sitting there at the fire telling Joel that she tried it with Sam, like I tried my blood on Sam to see that it worked. Think about it. Joel kind of paused before he said, well, I reckon it takes a little more than that. So I think maybe at that point he realized, okay, maybe it's not something with her blood. Maybe they're gonna have to
Yeah,
do
but that
other
that was
things.
I don't know, but
that
even at a
that was
rudimentary understanding of how that stuff works, it's not you
yeah.
just can't do blood to blood for
Yeah, that's kind
vaccine.
of like a primitive application. It's just like spitting on something doesn't make it like cleaner. Like, it's not kind of the same principle. It's like you can't just get I mean, although rubbing snot on somebody definitely makes them disappear, but like mixing blood doesn't like necessarily cure anything.
No,
So it's like, you have to go through
but
processes, you have to separate it and do all this other stuff.
yeah,
I
I
know,
think
I
You
know.
I
just
think he's until I think he has enough understanding of science to know
Yeah,
that much that it would be more than just blood to blood.
right.
When we go get vaccines, you're not shooting up someone else's blood. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah, that's gross.
Yeah.
Well,
Unless your name is Lance Armstrong and you're trying to win a race,
you know what?
You gotta win this race.
you can shoot up all kind of blood, help you win that race.
Yellow jersey, that cool, refreshing shirt.
No. Oh, but
Yeah,
But yeah, I just want on the record. I think we're all in agreement that he did wrong.
he did
that
wrong.
Joe
But I
Joe
will
that
say
was
this
wrong
too.
all over this
I
episode.
understand, sir. I understand what you're
Mm-hmm.
doing. I understand how you feel. But I'm just saying there's a whole lot of people out there that may have benefited from your precious little girl sacrifice.
I know, but I mean, I really sat here. I watched the episode again tonight before we start recording, and I was like, I do feel like he is wrong, but if Ellie was named Michaela or Michael or Bailey or Dante, would we have done any different?
That's not the question, though.
But
I
think
we
it
all
is.
would have done the same thing in his situation,
Yeah.
and it still would have been wrong.
Yeah, you're right.
That the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Unless that
Or
few
the
was my
one.
child. Unless that few was my child, and then I'm sorry, I'd be like, fuck the world. What has the world done for you?
We all would have done the same thing. It's just that it still would have been wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, but I mean, think about it like this: there's never only one of anything in any world. There has to be another set of fireflies with another scientist that kind of has to come up with something like this. So, I mean, there has to be there's going to be someone else looking for Ellie like that,
Or
or
not
someone
even the
else that comes up
fireflies.
with another theory.
We don't know what's
Anybody.
happening in other countries. I mean, we know that this was a widespread pandemic, but they could have scientists in other countries who are also working on a cure.
Yeah.
Or a vaccine, whatever. Because my
Or
thing is,
or
if you're
a fungicide. Come on, guys.
well, I'm just saying,
athlete's foot is a fungus, and we take care of it.
I'm just okay. So I'm
Yeast
just saying.
infections are fungus, and we take care of it.
Okay,
come on, guys.
but
So it's like Tenactin and Lotrimin are bonding together to save the world. Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm just saying, there might be a shortage of scientists in the world, who might be working on these things. But I like to think there's someone out there smart enough to be like, hey, it is a fungus,
mm-hmm.
It is a fungus. At the end of the day,
I know black
mold is hard to get rid of, though. That it is true. Black mold is hard to get rid of.
Yeah.
Why gotta be black mold?
But that brings me back to a question I asked several episodes ago. I do kind of want to know where John Hannah's character is in the midst of all of this.
Oh, this is 50 years later.
He dead.
He gone.
I mean, unless he
may have written a paper somewhere that might be in somebody's library about it.
Could be maybe he has some followers. Maybe it's like the Hananites. They're out there looking for someone to cure.
In his 90s or his 100s, living his best life because he knew this shit was gonna happen. He told y'all this shit back in 1968.
How meta is this? Maybe we were watching someone watching the TV program. Like maybe there's someone.
Good theory.
That's not a theory. I'm speculating. This is not theory crafting.
Yeah,
that's actually a good point. I mean, it could be somebody, they're watching it and they're like spinning. They have like a dino, and they're spinning blood and stuff, and they're like separating stuff and trying to figure out a cure while they're watching it. Like, I'm almost there, Mr. Hannah. I'm almost there. I almost got it. I mean, it could be. That's actually a really good offshoot for that story. It's like they could start showing the same, like the last part of the first episode, like where it like cut off, and where like the last part of that interview, and he'll like turn it off, and because you'll hear a beep in the background, and he'll take a vial and be like, "This is it," and then they go to like the spores crawling and shit. I mean, it could be. That's not a bad offshoot.
I guess. Now, okay, we've gotten to the end of the season. Here is still my question. I still feel like we did not see enough infected or clickers, like for you to be able to go through whole cities without seeing. And I know they referenced seeing someone. They went to visit Marlon and was it Francine? But I mean, even here, no clickers. You're in a hospital where most of these people probably died, and nothing. I
Well, I mean, they usually hang out in huddled masses. Maybe they're just not hitting the right hot spots. It's like because you saw in the second episode, you saw that when they're dormant, they all get together in huddled masses and kind of wait for another spore somewhere else to tap and be like, "Yo, someone's over here." Then they get up and start running. So maybe they're all in. Maybe there's a lot of them. They're all in hibernation, waiting for a signal,
yeah, but the fact
and
that
they're in clusters.
you have gone from Boston all the way to Salt Lake City, and we have.
This guy hates walking stuff, so he appreciates the fact that they didn't show any of that shit.
I'm just
I'm
saying.
very appreciative.
I'm just
Very
saying we didn't have to
appreciative.
see all the walking, but maybe an additional clicker or two. Seeing Joe being a badass, I wouldn't have been mad at that.
Well, Joe, they did try to give you some explanations. Like Mike said, they showed you what happens when they're dormant. And then, Joel talked about, because she asked about clickers out here. He's like, nah, clickers is not what we got to worry about out here because they're not out here. You
Yeah,
know?
but that was in the woods. They're literally in the ballpark in Salt Lake City. They're in the middle of downtown, and there's nothing there. So I don't know. The giraffes were a
Am I the
nice.
only one? Yeah, I'm glad, and they were in the original video game too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a nice touch they added. Was anyone else afraid that when they got too close to those giraffes, that cordyceps are going to start coming out of their mouths when they were trying to feed them?
No.
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 Because I saw that long time, I was like, yeah. Oh, okay, that's not a
Well,
cordyceps.
I thought,
Okay.
from what I remember, drabs are actually kind of mean. So I was surprised that it did get a little snippy towards the end. But
It was just
yeah,
hungry.
yeah,
Yeah,
drafts can be kind of mean. So
Yeah.
like aggressive. We're like, feed me, damn it.
right.
Oh, the season is over.
It
Now we
went
have
by
to wait.
fast.
It did. It
It really
did.
It
went by really quick.
did. You're like 9 episodes, 9 weeks. That was 2 months. That was
I know.
quick.
Yeah, it
It's like,
is because when you sit here and think, you're like, wow, we're already halfway through March.
right.
Like literally
Like, holy
tomorrow is the
shit.
halfway point. Like the fuck? But I mean, that also means it was really good because we weren't sitting there like, oh, here we go, wait for another week.
Hmm.
Like we were actually excited about this show and waiting for the next week, and they kept us entertained.
I don't know. There's still something to be said for what do we call it? Binge watching. Like
Yeah,
I still want
Yeah.
all my episodes at one
I
time.
I
Like
agree.
The Mandalorian, this is killing me because something like The
I
Mandalorian,
know.
it's great, but it's so slow. It's
Like,
so
like
slow.
how are they going to end that last episode like that? And we're like, what the fuck?
But I think that was a problem that I had with like the Book of Boba Fett. Give me all of the episodes at once. I probably would have liked it better because it would have, maybe it would have flowed better watching it that way. But having to wait for it week by week, I just, I wasn't.
No, because watching it all the way through, you would have been mad at the Mandalorian 2.5 section in the 2 episodes before the end because
No, I
that totally fucked up the flow of that show.
No, it's like
that the
watching.
flow of that show was fucked up before the Mandalorian showed up. The Mandalorian saved
Okay,
that
okay,
show.
stop. So we were. It reminds me of anime, watching anime when it's brought over here to America, like
Uh-huh.
Dragon Ball Z and Frieza and whatchamacallit, they stare at each other for 5 episodes before
Hmm.
anybody throws a punch. And yeah, that's what the Mandalorian feels like.
They stare at everybody and talk shit. It's like, you'll never beat me. My power level is higher than yours. I am Super Saiyan. I am Super God Saiyan.
And
I'm
yeah,
green.
and
I'm gold.
you get
What
five
will happen
episodes,
next?
5 episodes
Exactly.
of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of that.
Your
Them
mother
just
wears zombie
staring
boots.
at each
My
other,
mother doesn't
talking
have
shit.
feet. Take that back. Yeah.
Kakarot. But so I mean, I did look forward to this show every week, and I appreciated it. And one of the things that I liked about it was very episodic. Like
Mhm.
it
Yeah.
wasn't like a long story thread. we had a long thread, but each episode it like stands on its own as a scene or whatever.
And I like the
So I
fact
kinda
that
like that.
I like the fact that, like, I think I mentioned this last week, even though we got to meet new characters, the story always remained focused on Ellie and Joel. So I like that as well. You didn't have to, there weren't a whole lot of plot points or storylines that you had to try to keep up with. Because I think for a show like this, that would have been a lot. But the fact that you mainly concentrated on these two characters and this growing relationship between them, yeah, it was perfect. I loved
And
it.
but for the geography cues, you could literally watch episodes 2 through 8 in any order for the most part. Except
True.
for the 2 where he was hurt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's
7 and
like
8
a
you have to watch
2-part.
together, but you could actually stagger them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I know I like the show because it ended before Shadow and Bone, and we don't have to compete watching these two together.
Or try to schedule doing the podcast for both of them.
Right. No,
Right.
how about I sat here and I just realized that we are doing our mega show with our gamers on the same day that it comes out. And I don't think I realized that when I scheduled it. I didn't because it coming out on a Thursday, I just wasn't thinking.
Yeah, it should be coming
about
out on Friday. Yeah.
And so I was like, did I really schedule this on the same day? I was like, okay, we're just gonna have to get through we're gonna have to get through the recording, and then I'm just gonna sit and binge, and I probably will not be Ubering this weekend, or at least for 8 hours this weekend, because I'm gonna be watching Shadow and Bone. So
Yeah. You're gonna be like, hey, these guys played Last of Us. How was it? Good. Okay, that's our show. Thank you. Bye.
nah.
Click.
Let's see what else was good about this episode. The pun book made its return. I was like, I thought they were gonna let this die.
Absolutely not.
But when she told that first one about the pandemic, I just fell out laughing. I was like, you would start on that first one.
You said too soon. Yeah.
Awesome.
Too soon.
It was
Okay.
awesome.
I didn't get the one where he said, what did the green grape say to the purple grape? Breathe.
Breathe. Like, you know, when you hold your breath, you turn purple.
You turn purple.
Oh my
Blue,
God.
purple.
I mean, there are blue grapes, so she couldn't say what the green grape said to the blue grape. I mean, she could say what the green grape say to the blueberry.
Yeah.
What the green grape say to the blueberry? Breathe, damn it.
Okay, that one went over my head. But do we have any final thoughts on The Last of Us? I think we got all the important stuff.
Shout out to Bella Ramsey. I'm like a huge fan of hers because, as everybody who listens to this podcast knows, I haven't watched the Game of Thrones all the way through. So I haven't seen anything with her in it, but I'm actually like hearing her talk in public and everything. I'm a big fan, and I think that she's really cool, and I would love to see more stuff with her in it because she's just like, and the fact that she's 20, it's like she's not a teenager, like she's like in her early 20s. I'm like, well, and she's happy one. I think I missed Jenny. I think are her pronouns they and them?
I think
I don't know if I don't want to mismarry for pronouns.
I think she does she and they, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. If not, then I do apologize. But yeah,
I apologize as well. Yeah, because I don't want to mistake her pronouns.
Oh, is it no? So it says in a recent interview with the New York Times, Bella discussed gender identity. I guess my gender has always been very fluid. Someone would call me she or her, and I wouldn't think about it, but I knew that if someone called me he, it was a bit exciting. Bella added that if given the option, she would choose non-binary on forms indicating her gender identity. When it comes to pronouns, however, Bella explains she doesn't have a preference. I'm very much just a person. Being gendered isn't something that I particularly like, but in terms of pronouns, I really couldn't care less.
Oh, so she doesn't care.
So she doesn't care about pronouns. So okay.
Okay.
All right.
So
Also shout out to Pedro becoming typecast as a dad who saves miscreant children now. Pedro,
that's
like
okay. I will watch him do it for as long as I need to watch him do it.
no man, you can't typecast this man. You're pigeonholing him. You're putting him in a box that he may not want to be in for the rest of his life.
I don't think
Are
they're
y'all
gonna
caught
keep
up
it.
on? Are y'all caught up in the Mandalorian?
Yes.
Yes.
So, so he, I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna say anything because it was interesting how the episode where Joel was hurt and Bella had to help him, and then in the Mandalorian he's hurt
Same
Oh,
and
thing.
Grogu had to
gotcha.
do the same thing.
Parallels.
That was interesting. Yes, you got saved by the child in both
Saved by the child
instances.
in both instances.
Yeah. But I will say I am glad to see Pedro is getting his due because
Facts.
this man has been way too talented for way too long, and I just love the fact that everybody is loving him now. So yeah.
He
But
will never live down Wonder Woman 1984 for me. Never.
I don't think people are even paying
That
attention
wasn't his
to the
fault
fact.
though. You
Yeah.
gotta let that go. That wasn't his fault. You gotta let that go, man.
Yeah.
He
That's
was just
just
reading the script. That wasn't his fault.
that's
He was just
just
reading the
like
script.
that's just like you as a parent berating your child for the one C they got 6 years ago instead of the straight A's they've gotten since then.
Stop talking about my mama.
I'm just saying.
She did that very same thing.
You leave Pedro
You
alone.
remember when you got that C in the 6th grade?
Well, I see that's why I love my mama because I kept getting C's, so she wouldn't have to have that problem.
You know?
I don't care you got all A's now. You had that C that one time, and I just can't.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm looking at this. I'm looking at these scenes in the background where he's fighting his way through the hospital. I'm like, y'all didn't. If you looked at the look on his face, the
He was
look on
locked
his,
in.
he was locked in, and he was. I mean,
Stone
just
face, yeah.
yes, so calculating. Like, oh yeah, I'm about to kill all y'all motherfuckers. And I like the way they kept showing his feet, just the slow steps he was taking. He was really like he was pacing this thing out. I was like, okay, y'all just
Yeah, and that music is like that.
that
The
soundtrack.
music choices.
I'm listening to that soundtrack tomorrow at work because the music throughout that whole scene was beautiful because all you could do was sit there like this and just look and be like, oh my God, oh my God. He is killing these people. Like, here's 2 here, there's 3 there, there's another 3 that just yeah, he had a body count on this episode. I don't even know why Marlene thought she was gonna do anything different when she finally did confront him. Did you not see the carnage he left for you upstairs? You should just stay hidden. And you could have lived, like you said, Anthony, she could have lived to fight another day. She could have called out to the other people and be like, yo, be on the lookout for him, whatever.
What did Kyle Reese say to Sarah Connor? He cannot be negotiated with at all.
Mm-mm.
I don't think we've done a Terminator reference on the show yet. So that's cool. Oh, goodness. So
If I had been prepared for it, I would have had the quote on hand.
that's okay. That's okay. We like spontaneous. We like it. So that's it for the regular season. And what we're going to do on Thursday, 2 days from now, we are going to have a final discussion on The Last of Us. We are going to have 2 or maybe 3 gamers with us that night, just talking to us about the show versus the game, things that they like, things that they didn't like, how they compare. We're just gonna pick their brains for a bit and see what it's like experiencing this show from a gamer point of view or from someone who's, played this game. So that's what we're going to do. So you'll get that show in a few days after this one. But for now, that is it for our coverage of The Last of Us. You can find us online at www.fandomhybrid.com. We are on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Fandom Hybrid. You can chat with us on our Discord channel. You can watch our videos on our YouTube channel, and you can listen to us on all major podcast streaming platforms. Thanks for listening. We hope you join the conversation next time.